there should be a screen coming up right now.
Welcome to Apne Aap's virtual gala.
That we need to be thoughtful and careful about the ideas of change, because they often are supposed to come from the top down, when in fact real change is like a tree. It grows from the bottom up. Hello, it does not grow from the top down. So if we remember that, I think it will give us faith in our own actions, in banding together with other people around us, because we are communal animals. We need each other, and just if each day we have a few more, then we know that we are successful organizers.
In days of COVID, a lot of systems have shifted online because we have to stay indoors. And this has meant that the world has become even more digital than last year. And the digital divide is also greater because many women cannot afford even a cell phone, let alone a computer and data plan. And they are slowly being pushed out of the system. So how do we, who are movement people, who want to reach the last girl, how do we bridge this digital divide?
The digital divide and even polarization is more severe than it's ever been before. It was always severe because of literacy. Now it's more severe because of technology, which is even more expensive than literacy. So some things we can do are very practical, and that is to distribute computers and cell phones, to take what equipment we have and give it to people around us that don't have it, to raise money to distribute that equipment, and also to listen, to listen to the people who have the knowledge and the need, and take their exact words and put it on technology. Take our cameras around and photograph them. Take our tape recorders around and listen to them, and be a bridge between their reality and the high-tech world.
During COVID, also besides more digitization, the other thing which has happened is that the lockdown has meant for many women and children locked in, and the work share, of course, has gone home because they have to do everything in the house. Plus, domestic violence has increased. It seems like for another year or so, this is going to continue. How do we tackle this?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not easy at all, but I think we need to say who the perpetrators are and get the word out there, because domestic violence has increased, that's true, but who is it? It's our neighbor, it's our cousin, it's someone, and we need to name them and use what pressure we have. Actually, we've been successful sometimes in increasing the penalties for domestic violence precisely because people are confined. And I think at the other end of the spectrum, we need to make men responsible for taking care of children and cleaning up the house. They are in the house now, and if they are at all reasonable human beings, they love their children, they want to eat, and if they eat, they can cook. And if they have children, they should take care of them half the time. And they're home now. They have no excuse, right? So I think we need to use it. We can't control what happens to us, but we can use what happens to us, including this COVID tragedy.
It's interesting that you said that men can learn how to cook and become child carers, caregivers in a way, and they can begin to share. But how do we get them to understand this when today, patriarchy and fascism are both growing in such a big way that the world is becoming, the definition of masculinity itself is becoming one once again of someone who's dominating, who's the strong man. How do we even begin the dialogue?
Well, when you're saying that to me, what's coming to my mind is one woman in an audience, and we were having the discussion we're having now. And she got up and in a very simple way, she said, when my husband leaves his underwear on the floor, I find it quite useful to nail it to the floor. So, I mean, I'm sure that he never forgot. He was less likely to leave his underwear. I mean, I'm not suggesting that the big issues are not there, but I think if we think of them as huge, we may miss the acts of rebellion that we have at our disposal that are there. If he's hungry, don't cook. If he wants to eat, he'll have to find the food. He'll have to cook the food himself.
Yes.
Yes, it's just one step at a time.
So outrageous acts and everyday rebellions in the middle of lockdown during COVID is the best form of resistance.
Yes, no, it is. I mean, once we realize we can't control what happens, but we can use what happens. It becomes a kind of adventure, to figure out how we can use what's happening to create change and consciousness and kindness. Nothing is more important than kindness.
Can you give an example from your own life where you did that?
Well, I think, I mean, part of it, what comes to mind, which I'm not sure is what you mean exactly, is that I was afraid to speak in public because I had become a writer, so I didn't have to speak in public, right? And because I was writing about the women's movement, then I was getting the invitations to speak, and I realized it was important to do that. I also realized I was scared and I didn't want to do it by myself. So I invited a friend of mine who happened to be running a child care center and was fearless, totally fearless, and also African American. So, we just inadvertently realized how important it was for a white woman and a black woman to go around together. So I think if you just concede, okay, I have this weakness, what can I do about it? How can I, invite someone else to help and just build on that instead of saying, oh, I can't speak, I can't do it at all. To figure out, okay, how can I do it? That was one example for me.
That's a beautiful example, that seek help, build friendships, and find a way to do something, overcome fear. Yes, the things. Talking about fear, one of the things which both countries that I'm connected with, the country where I was born and the country I live in, United States and India, and the countries that you have inhabited most in your life, the two countries, in both our countries, there is fear of fascism right now, and control and surveillance and top-down leadership by strongmen. How, you have a whole analysis of how the root cause of fascism is based in patriarchy, because it normalizes the idea of the head of the family and a man who will take the decisions right or wrong. And then we end up voting for a strong man as the leader because that becomes a comfort zone. Could you speak a little bit about that and explain it to the people who are listening in today?
I think the first step in every hierarchy that I'm aware of is controlling reproduction, and that means controlling the bodies of women. And since you cannot control another adult human being without violence or the threat of violence, this has come to make violence and control seem normal and natural. The violence that we see in the home is, in some homes, is actually the biggest determinant of whether a nation will be violent in the street, towards other groups, towards other nations. It is literally violence in the home that is the biggest determinant of all that other violence, because it normalizes it. It causes us to believe, since we've grown up with it in the home, that it's part of human nature and that it's inevitable. I think that if we see that progression, it will increase our sense of courage and duty and obligation to confront violence in the home, because it is the root of all other violence. It's difficult, as you point out, because it's normalized by patriarchy, by racism, by caste, by class. But once we get the revolutionary idea that we are all human beings, hello, and that the amount of melanin in our skin or our genitals don't dictate our brains, it's, hello, we are all human beings. We can give each other blood transfusions. We can give each other organ transplants. We are all human beings. And if we can just keep a grip on that and teach that to our children and make sure that they know too, we will have begun to undo hierarchy and patriarchy at its very root.
This is 25 years actually since the Beijing Women's Conference, the United Nations Beijing Women's Conference, and I think that it was so transformative for me. I had gone there and I remember, hearing women hold up half the sky, and suddenly it became the slogan which went around, and it created norms and frameworks, and there was a burst of energy. What do you think of all the achievements of the Beijing Women's Conference, and what about the next 25 years?
Well, I think the Beijing Conference was very important because it raised to the global level the concerns of women everywhere at the grassroots level, and made them international and global in the eyes of the world. Now I think our challenge is to make them real. That was a psychic change, a psychological change, an emotional change, which is huge because consciousness changes before reality changes. Now we need to change reality as we have been doing, but in a very daring, continuous way, with using that consciousness. So whatever the hierarchy is that we see around us in our families, or whatever it may be, doing the housework, who takes care of the children, who cooks, all of those things, who runs for office, and when we see bad patriarchs, as you and I both have in both of our countries, who are now heading our countries, who are terrible, patriarchal, violent figures. Yours is probably more dangerous because he's smarter than ours. Ours is, hopelessly, stupid, but he's nonetheless dangerous, because he's in power. So in a way, it's helpful in consciousness, because I think that in both our cases, we now see everything that's wrong with our country at the top. So it's very visible and very educational. I think, to speak for my country, we had 8 years of a good president, President Obama, who was as good as he could be. And in a way, we relaxed then, because we thought, oh, well, he can do it. you know. Okay, no way, you know, do we think that anymore. So there's much more energy, as you'll see in the streets, in the demonstrations, and what's being written online, and what's being, you know, collecting money, and so right. It has energized us from the bottom up.
You know, while you were talking, I just thought that, you know, one of the people who's challenging this patriarchal, violent leadership in your country is Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly enough, one of the people who made Gandhi think about including women in India's freedom struggle in a very active way, to breaking salt tax, to filling up jails, was another Kamala who you met. Do you see a thread between that Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, and this Kamala Harris?
You know, it's interesting you say that, because I don't know Kamala Harris. I know her sister Maya, and I would like to ask Maya if Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay is someone who, or you know, I wondered if she was named after her. Perhaps I haven't discovered whether that's the case or not. But I do think it's very symbolic that we have a vice presidential candidate who is the first woman of color and represents both of the world's two biggest democracies. I feel very, you know, somehow as if it's part of the journey, you know, of my going to India. I don't know, it just feels as if it binds us together, and it feels like a step in my own life.
I was thinking the same thing, because, you know, you talked to me about Kamala Devi of fascism, and another Kamala has stepped forward in your country and mine. So I thought it's interesting, and, you know, I wanted to ask you about it. So I'm glad you feel the same way, that there's something symbolic, something there. And Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, I remember many years ago, had gone to the United States at the invitation of Eleanor Roosevelt. And she was riding a bus, and she went and sat in the front of the bus, and the conductor came and told her to go and sit at the back where he said all black people sat. And she refused, and she said, I come from a country where we believe in civil disobedience, and your country needs it too, and why should I go at the back? And he heard her accent, and he said, oh, you're Asian, and he let her sit there. But then she went to the press and she spoke about it, and she said, unless we all unite in this struggle against this fictional hierarchy, we are not going to be able to tackle the root cause. So it's just interesting that, you know, it's all like one thing leads to another thing to another thing.
Yes, and we learn from each other. I mean, that, you know, the symbolic act of refusing to sit in a segregated area in a bus was, of course, Rosa Parks and, you know, many others in the civil rights movement, and even before that, you know. So rebellion is contagious, and we need each other. We need each other's support. We need each other's ideas. We need to read each other's work. We need to just, you know, disregard national boundaries and realize that our goals are the same.
A movie's coming out on your life, The Glorias, and I've seen the rough cuts, and it's beautiful. There's a part of it in India, and of course, your journey on the road in the United States as a young girl, as a journalist, as an activist, as an organizer, all these years. And do you think this is the milestone, or you have more to say?
I have no idea. I think I'm very, very lucky that Julie Taymor, who is a genius as a filmmaker, perhaps people in India have also seen Across the Universe, or, you know, or Frida, about Frida Kahlo, some of her other films, and understand what an extraordinary filmmaker she is. She said a few years ago that she wanted to make a movie out of my book, My Life on the Road. And I said, you can do anything you want. I think you're a genius, right? Because I can't imagine anyone else I would have said that to, because she is her truths, she gets emotional truth, not just factual truth, but emotional truth. And I thought in the movie she did an amazing job of showing the part that takes place in India in a third-class women's-only railway car. And it turns out that because she also, Julie Taymor, had lived in other, not in India, but in other parts of South Asia, and had that same experience of learning from women in a third-class car because they're talking. So she put it in the movie. It's amazing. You know, it's amazing to me. And that she recreates village. I don't know how she did it. It's a gift. It's incredible.
It really was beautiful and moving and inspiring, and so much solidarity and interwoven connections. Sort of almost like a Marquez novel, because she was bridging time and distance, and there's that bus journey with all the Glorias. It's just fascinating how she did that. Going back and forth between time.
I mean, that's something she invented, as people will see if they see the movie. A Greyhound bus, which is for us a very populist bus. It's like your buses, right? So pretty much everybody rides on. And so she has invented a Greyhound bus through time. And that means that you see different things out of the window, different eras out of the window. Different people are on the bus. Indeed, me at different ages are on the bus, even talking to myself at different ages. It's an amazing device that is totally her invention, wasn't in the book, that allows her to bring together a long period of time and a disparate number of people symbolically in a populist, ordinary, everybody could have been there symbol of a bus.
That's so beautiful, a Greyhound bus through time. That's exactly it. The movie was like that, yes. I hope everyone watches it. It's going to be released on Amazon Prime, so it should be available for everyone across continents. And it's kind of inspiring, where there's an old woman you meet, when you go to a village in India, and you have 2 bags, and she says, leave it behind. And you say, why? And she says that, you Americans have too much baggage, just give up the baggage. And that was the spirit of India then, not now, but it was then. So, even time can teach us something. Time is circular as much as space. So yeah, it's interesting. The other thing that reminds me, thinking about the movie, is the talking circle, which you love so much. And you have that in the movie where you're sitting in a circle with women in a village, and then that became a sort of an organizing strategy you've used all your life, including in the NGO Apne Aap, which when we work against sex trafficking. That was one of the first things you taught us, was to sit in a circle, talk and listen, and go to where the women are rather than waiting for them to come to where we are. So some of the feminist tips that you taught me was listening, that if you want people to listen to you, you have to listen to them. The other was that if you want people to come to you, you have to go where they are. And the third thing was that you have to equalize things by sitting in a circle. There's no pyramid, there's no hierarchy, everyone is sitting together. So can you speak a little bit about your journey with Apne Aap and how you slowly helped organize this vast talking circle, which is now Apne Aap, stretching across America, India, to a village in Bihar, to a home in New York, your home. How did we create this? How did it happen? What are your memories of it?
I think you created it. I mean, because you created it, and you invited me to be part of it, and to stand in the street in neighborhoods and talk with other women and listen to other women and sit in a circle with other women. I mean, Gandhi did it, you did it. I thought I learned it from India, actually. And nothing is more important. I mean, the circle is the strongest form in nature. It's the oldest form in nature. If we all have faith that we will both be listened to and have a chance to listen. In Native American circles, for instance, they pass around a talking stick. I don't know if that happens in your talking circles or not. So when you have the talking stick, you can speak for a while and then you pass it to the next person. And so each person has to listen. It's instant democracy, and it's also learning, because we actually don't learn while we're talking. Hello. We learn while we're listening, right? So it's a blessing in both directions.
Why have you so staunchly supported Apne Aap and its work against sex trafficking all these years?
I clearly from living in India, well, I mean, there are brothels all over the world, but the brothel in Kolkata was, or as it was called, Calcutta, when I was living in India, was always I believe always the biggest one. And it just seemed so cyclical. I mean, children were born, babies were born into the brothel. Children were bought into, girl children were bought and put in even more than prostitution in my country, which is also a blight and crime of body invasion. It was intergenerational, and it seemed very, very difficult to find a way out. And Apne Aap was finding a way out, first, at least in my experience, by helping women to find a way that their children could go to school so that their children could get out. And then, that they also could begin to hope to get out. They could perhaps meet each other and have each other's support in some area for at least a few hours, just little by little by little, freeing our minds, freeing the future, and understanding that it is possible. And in some ways, the fact that women are together there and not isolated in patriarchal families, even though their conditions are very terrible, it makes rebellion very contagious.
Very true. And you talked about the future, and there's something which I want to show you. Something you keep writing about, and I don't know if our generation and people younger than us have ever seen this, but can you explain what this is to people and what it symbolically means to you?
Well, it's so amazing that you have it, because I don't know, this one maybe comes from India, but the first ones...
It's Russia. It's from some part of Russia.
Okay, because
Julia.
Yeah, it's a handicraft of Russia, at least that's where I saw it, which is a doll, as you see, and then you open it up and there's nested other dolls inside, and in a very, very tiny one and so on. And I think symbolically for me, it's a visible symbol of the fact that our younger selves are still within us. That our small child self and our slightly older child self and our teenage self and our young woman self and our, that all of those memories and moments of learning and understanding and fear or whatever it is are still inside of us to be learned from and used. And it's part of our authenticity that each of us comes into the world as a baby, unique in every way, somebody who could never have happened before and could never happen again. And that baby is at the center, and then this unique self grows outward in this way. So I think it's very helpful to have visible symbols of internal truths. And I think that doll is very much helpful in that way.
What is your vision for the future?
Oh, just a little thing like that.
Yes, I thought I may as well throw it in.
Well, you know, obviously I have huge hopes for the future. But what is most important to me is that the future is composed of the next 5 minutes and the next hour and the next day. Because if we think of the future up there in this big, big way, it becomes amorphous. We can't imagine how we get there. So that's why I frequently use the symbol of a tree, because the tree was a seed and planted and grew, and so, you know, I can kind of deal with that. And I think the future is that too.
That's beautiful. It's not a question really, but you know, if any thoughts or anything else you want to share with people listening to you from across continents?
Mm-hmm. No, I would just say, you know, don't worry about the shoulds. Don't get a case of the shoulds. What should I do? Just two things. Do whatever we can, however small or large it may be, with whatever money or actions or whatever it is that we have, and also to find companionship. We are communal animals. We cannot exist for very long by ourselves. We come to feel alone and crazy. I mean, there's a reason why solitary confinement is the most universal punishment in the world. So reach out and find one or two other people who at least you can have lunch with, or you share some goal with at work, or something you're trying to clean up your neighborhood or deal with unjust cops or whatever it is. Whether they're related or friends, or so, it doesn't matter, but we need that kind of companionship. And try to meet pretty regularly, say maybe at least once a week, with other people, so you are not isolated and not by yourself. And the other thing I would say is laugh. I mean, there is laughter, as our own Native American cultures have told us, is the only free emotion. You can compel fear, obviously. You can even make people feel they're in love if they're dependent long enough. They feel they're in love in order to survive because they're dependent. But you can't compel laughter. It happens when two things come together and suddenly make a third, or I don't know, for all kinds of reasons. So it's a pretty good test of freedom. Don't go any place you can't laugh. No matter what it is. If they won't let you laugh, it's a problem. And laughter actually is medicinal. It's good for your blood pressure. It's good for your brain. It's good for your intake of oxygen. It's good. So just, you know, doing everything you can rather than worrying about what you should do, and laughing and hanging out with people you can laugh with, is a pretty good test of instant freedom.
I could do all three, so that's good. That's good advice, doable.
Yes, we laugh together all the time, right.
Very doable advice. You're also practical, you know, when you give advice.
it is interesting that there is a tradition of laughter among some holy men, right, in your country. Yeah, and I wonder if that's why.
There's something called the Laughing Club, and it has branches, and people get together in a park and they laugh together. So it's something, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That sounds a little external, because you can't. Laughter has to have some spontaneity, I think.
Yeah, it's true.
You can't just arbitrarily.
Yeah. Well, I've never attended it, but I've been on a morning walk and I've seen like these groups getting together and laughing loudly. So maybe someone plans the joke, or I don't know how it works. But anyway, thank you so much, Gloria. It's just as usual wonderful, and I wish we could have done it in person, but it will happen very soon. And
we will do it in person. And I just want to say how happy I am to see you, and how much I admire and support your work and the thousands of people you have been feeding by your own efforts. I mean, I have this vision of the photograph of you standing next to what looks like 2 acres of food bags that you are distributing. I mean, you are an inspiration to organizers everywhere and to people who care. And fortunately, it turns out you're contagious in a good way. So I'm very grateful for your friendship.
likewise, it's just been wonderful, knowing you. I think that's the best part of my life as an activist, that because I became an activist, I got to know you. So thank you so much.
And vice versa. Okay. And and now I'm trying to tell everybody in this country, because we're not supposed to shake hands, because of course of COVID and it's dangerous and so on. I said, listen, India has figured this out long ago. Namaste. I'm trying to get everybody to say Namaste, right?
Namaste.
Hi everyone, this is Nandana Sen joining you from New York. On behalf of Apne Aap, I want to wish you a mighty International Day of the Girl and thank you for celebrating it with us today. Many congratulations to our sparkling awardees whose work is truly transformative. And we are sending so much love to Gloria, who has been a beacon of light not only for us at Apne Aap, but for the whole world. Huge thanks to our committee of hosts and presenters today, who are longtime supporters of Apne Aap. We are so grateful for your friendship, as we are to our wonderfully wise board, including Mona Sinha, whom you met earlier. And I must thank Ram Devineni, who is not only an awardee tonight, but also the wizard who brilliantly put together this evening's festivities on this platform. It's also my great pleasure tonight to thank our major donors, whose generosity is critical to our work. SC Johnson, Amazon Web Services, India Gate, Preeti Paul, KCT Group Trust, and Kalpataru Group Trust. Now, the biggest round of applause here needs to go to the girls, women, and children of Apne Aap, with whom I've had the joy and privilege of working, playing, and campaigning hard. I can't tell you how inspiring, intrepid, and indefatigable they are, just like their visionary leader, my friend and sister-in-arms, Ruchira Gupta. Passionately led by Ruchi, Apne Aap has provided more than 5 million meals to 60,000 victims of sex trafficking and families made destitute by COVID-19 as well as Cyclone Amphan. Apne Aap is also providing education support to vulnerable children through computer donations and online teaching. Finally, I must come back to you to thank you once again, this time in advance, for donating to our food support campaign, which needs to continue as women and children are starving in our red light areas. We request all of you to please donate to 1millionmeals.org. So that's the number 1, 1,000,000meals.org. The link is in the chat, I think, and with your help, we can continue our urgent work on the ground. These are such strange times, aren't they? When we all feel so separated and, frankly, so scared. Not only are we physically apart, we are also petrified of the pandemic. Our leaders, local and global, are paralyzed into inaction or incompetence. And people everywhere are polarized by the rise of divisive politics. And that's happening across the world. It is fomenting the kind of hatred that could lead to the unspeakably brutal murder and rape of a Dalit girl in Hathras, or the reckless killing of Breonna Taylor in Louisville. This is not the time to stand back or stand by. It's time to stand up against the violence women and children suffer daily. Time to stand up and fight for the nutrition, education, and safety, for the basic human rights of every last girl. Please join us in this journey. Thank you.
I see Ruchira here. Ruchira, did you make it on? You gotta unmute yourself.
Hi, yes. Good morning, everyone from India. It's so nice to see all your faces long distance. It's just wonderful. Thank you so much. It's been such an honor sharing this moment with you, giving the award to the awardees. I can see Cheryl Saban, I can see Ambassador Bogyay, I can see Ashley, Rosanna, Vinita, Mona, you're looking a bit like Kalki. Everybody, thank you so much for being part of this journey. Gloria just emailed and she thought it was India time. So if you want to see her, she's going to log in at India time, 8 p.m. and join us also. And if anyone has any questions for Gloria, she's happy to answer them because she's happy to come online and answer in the future. You can email me, I'll forward it to her. So thank you so much. It's really truly been an honor to share Apne Aap's journey with you all and to get your support and affirmation. Thank you.
Love you.
We're grateful for you, Ruchira. Thank you.
Love you, Ruchira.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you. Love you all. Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl.
Incredible work. Just incredible. It was so moving.
So lovely to see you, Ruchira. I hope to see you very soon in New York.
You will, end of November. And
oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Can't wait to see you, really. And I wish you all the very best. And thank you very much for all your work. And I hope, you know, there will be a moment when we can continue our work in the UN. As you know, at the moment, it's more virtual, although we go in already, but one person by country at the moment. So it's limited, but at least we are back, we are working. And, you know, I'm now the chair of the third committee. So actually, I'm dealing with all these subjects every day. So it has been very moving this evening, and I'm really very happy that I've met you. And Cheryl, I hope I can, you know, join forces with you as well. Obviously, I haven't met you before in person. But I know about your life and your dedication, and this is exactly what I'm thinking, that we really have to join forces, work together. And, you know, it's such a complex topic because here we are talking about sexual trafficking, but as I said, I'm talking in a broader sense with modern day slavery and human trafficking. And it was a very interesting point when we were talking about the role of culture in different parts of the world, how we look at these crimes like that. And we really deal a lot, for example, with the religious minorities, ethnic minorities, all put to slavery, all kinds of slavery. So this is just a dark part of humanity, and I think we just should never give up. And as I said, Ruchira, I'm sorry you cannot retire very soon because it's just too much to do. But I hope that on the global scale, we really can appreciate that these work. We are talking not about one country, and we are not talking about one continent. It is the sin of humanity. So that's why we have to tackle it together. So it was wonderful, and thank you very much. And I really must say that in the third committee, we just started to deal with the empowerment of the women, violence against girls and women. Just Friday, we were discussing it. We are continuing these topics, and I can assure you, as you know, as much we have to keep it on the agenda. That's very important. So thank you very much, and I like this because that gives us also a sign, you know, all over the world. And it has now become totally international because that's the only way we can greet each other, that's for sure. So it's been a pleasure and honor being with you, and I really I hope to meet you all in person. And thank you, Ruchira. Thank you.
Thank you, Katalin. So hopefully we'll get together one day. Vinita, you saying something?
No, I'm just asking how you are. You've been through so much.
Yeah, it's been a transformative year in so many ways. One is to understand the meaning of family.
Yeah.
And just being with them, and then the meaning of like utter destitution, up so close. I've never seen anything like it. And that friendships can persist through continents, in spite of all the challenges we've had here, we are as a community. So that gives me hope. And while this year has been tough, it's also given me hope that, we will get out of it and continue. So it's just nice. It's great. It's great to see you all and have that circle of friends. And, there's much more which we will have to do next year. But I don't think any of us are stoppable. We are unstoppable.
Yeah. We'll be learn from the best, Ruchi. So we're in this together. So thank you, everyone. The formal part of this event is closed, but Ruchi, as long as you're here to chat with people, if anyone wants to ask questions or talk to you.
Thank you, Ram.
Thank you, Ram, very much for doing this.
And
you.
Thank you. Hi, Darshana.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
So stay in touch. We'll continue on email. I talk to you.
Sure. Yes. And maybe we'll do the same panel of all the awardees in person. Ambassador Bogyay, this panel has to be at the UN too. I think she's gone. Hi, Rosanna. I can see you, part of you. Hi.
you're muted, Rosanna. We can't hear you.
Just click on the mute button.
Unmute. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Beautiful to see everyone, and thank you so much, Ruchira. I'm so glad you're here and alive and survived this crazy COVID. And looking forward to seeing you when you come to New York. Thank you, everyone, and lots of love.
Lots of love and lots of good wishes for the elections.
Oh, God, please. Every day. We're just anxious. It's like we're in constant post-traumatic stress syndrome in all of America from this madness. See? Oh, my gosh.
What, did you fall off the chair?
Are you all right? Oh, my dear. There you are. There I am. Oh, story of my life. Hi guys. This is the new Zoom world, and I'm really not good at it, boy. I'm just learning. So hi.
Hi.
Okay. Right. Great to see you all, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I guess I can see Ambassador Shabazz is also there. How are you? I still remember our dinner. So many people. Ashley.
It was a wonderful event, Ruchira. Everybody loved.
It really was. It was
Really
amazing.
lovely.
What an incredible
Powerful.
privilege to listen to the both of two of you. Am I on mute? No. Okay.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I can hear you all. Anyway, it's just nice because, you know, also I've been missing everyone. And so it's just good to have this circle again. And we'll see each other soon, I
I
guess.
also think this conversation between you and Gloria, if you could also publish this separately, just as a conversation between the two of you.
That's a great idea.
You know, and just keep it on your website or something. It's
It
really
is on YouTube. We are uploading the entire thing on YouTube and also in segments and as a whole. And today for Indian time, it's going to be watch on Facebook. And then for archival purposes, it's going to be on YouTube in case people want to share it with their friends, etc. So I'll be sending out a news.
I want to share it with a whole bunch of people and ask them to donate, because it's hard to not step up to the cause after listening to that conversation. It was so meaningful and so incredible. I mean, it kind of defies logic that, you know, women make up 50% of the population of the world and hold maybe 5% of the power in the world.
I was just thinking,
how did we get here? And look at this room full of women, you know. We're just all incredibly sorry about this.
And the one good guy who helped us, Ram, to put it all together.
Thank you, Ram.
No pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was a lot of work and it came through beautifully. And congratulations on the new comic. Oh, I can't wait to see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll send out a newsletter with all the links and the segments, and please share it as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I can see Lisa's there too. I can see Rachel Cooper's there.
Your friend wants to say hello to you.
Hi, hello. I saw him on your lap. Hello. So yeah, thank you everyone. I think I'll just say namaste and we'll talk again soon. Namaste.
Lovely to meet everybody. And thank you for all the amazing work. Mona, that was beautiful. You did an incredible job of.
Yes, you really did. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you all. We will connect, hopefully in person soon. Ruchi, come back soon. We're missing you here.
We are.
Will do.
And who's asking me, when are you going to New York? I said, as soon as Ruchira comes back, I'm going.
I'm coming back soon, very soon. As soon as you all get rid of Trump, I'll be there.
Yes.
When you get rid of Modi.
Yeah.
That's harder. As Gloria said, he's more intelligent.
We have Gloria joining.
Oh, yeah. Gloria joining?
Gloria.
Yes, I just emailed her saying we all are online.
Gloria, where are you?
There you are. Hi.
There. Okay.
Hi, Gloria.
Hi. Oh, Ruchi, it's so wonderful to see you. See your face. I can't believe it.
I know, it's so wonderful. And everyone loved our conversation. You missed Ella Bain's remarks about you because I didn't see your email telling you that you've got to click on the Zoom. I saw it just now, so I just...
No, and I thought that because that was recorded, I didn't realize that I was... Sorry, right. Oh, I missed Ella Bain. That's awful, right.
But I'll send it to you. I'll send you everything.
Oh, I'd love to see her, right.
Yes. So everybody was feeling very emotional after listening to you.
Inspired. Emotional and inspired. And
okay, well, I'll have to listen to myself again.
You absolutely will. It's so inspirational. It will just make you go out and I don't know what more you can do, but it'll make you do things.
Well, we do need to listen to ourselves sometimes. So what have I missed? What else? What have I missed?
What have you missed? Rosanna's resolve that we are going to get rid of Trump. And then I'll come back to you.
I'm right. I'm on board, of course. Right.
And that's just to get Richie back. So we have to do it now. It's a matter of great urgency.
Yes. Yeah, we miss her. Not to mention worrying about her. Right.
Yeah. So she asked how we're getting rid of Modi, and that's another big question we have to do.
Yes. Well, we need her instructions on how to do that.
Yeah.
I wish I had instructions. It's like, what can you do and what you can do right now. So we're doing all we can, but it's tough. Very, very tough.
Well, I mean, there might be more journalistic kind of exposés that could be done. Because I don't think, the image of him in this country is not at all accurate, I don't think.
Yeah, I think we have to educate the world that he's not about economic development, but basically just like Bolsonaro and others. So it's been.
Or we can call them the COVID clan, but except Modi hasn't gotten it yet.
Well, we don't even know. Everything is so opaque. What happens inside his life? That we don't even know what he's got. And Gloria, Rosanna's online, Lisa's online.
That's great.
Was online. The writer of the comic, the next comic of Priya, Shubhra Prakash, is online. Actually, Cheryl Saban, Ambassador Bogyay, they all were online. I think some of them have gone. They didn't realize you were coming on, so I think they've gone. But many of them are still here. Does anyone have any questions for Gloria?
Or any answers? I could use answers.
Gloria, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Nancy. I interviewed you many years ago. You were so kind to me. I was so stupid, and you were your wonderful sense of humor.
I'm sure that's not true what you just said.
Right. No, believe me, it was true. But I have this, and the footage is going into a film about Woodstock and the meaning of community. So it's not.
That's interesting. Right.
What do we do about Amy? What do we do about this absurd denial of our own bodies that should have been taken care of so many years ago? I'm doing calls for, voter calls to swing states. And I'm not a very good diplomat. I get very incensed. I don't have the words. I don't have the words to frame how actually stupid and horrible I think so many of these people are. Mm-hmm. And you always do it. So,
well, how does it come at you? What do people say to you? Or what do you?
They want this woman in the Supreme Court. They do not want the Democrats to stack the Supreme Court. Basically, these are religious people. It's about life. It goes back to this idea of about life, and that life, ends after the baby's born because nothing is ever done to take care of life after that. I mean, I'm from a small town in Pennsylvania. I've had to basically defriend a lot of people because I don't know how. They are so brainwashed.
I don't know. I mean, I think I trust your instincts when you're in the conversation to know. But I mean, if you give the government the power to control our bodies, they can decide to, support life as you see it or not. The point is to let the individual decide. So the point is not to let the government nationalize our bodies by giving the government that control. I mean, it could therefore decide to keep us from giving birth or give birth in a limited way, but the fundamental question is who makes the decision over our bodies, us or the government?
But these are men who want to make the decision over women's bodies regardless, and women who have not really asked the question. And, you know, I'm talking a lot to people who care about guns more than they care about life, except when it comes to pro-life.
No, well, I mean, first of all, it may not be possible, you know, because I think one of the things that worries me about us as women is that if we're in a room and there are 100 people on one side of the room who are ready to go and march, and there are 30 people on the other side who are saying no, we'll try to convince the 30 instead of moving forward with the 100. So, you know,
Right.
yeah, it may, you shouldn't worry if you can't convert, because they're in the minority anyway, they're losing anyway. But if you feel, you know, that it's possible to have a conversation, I think one of the points of agreement is that they don't want the government to make decisions over their bodies, men or women. They want to be able to, and we can agree on that.
Yeah. That's very simple and can be understood by men too. What example could I give a man?
Well, there have been court-ordered vasectomies for men who had children they couldn't support. There's a case of a Chicano guy in California, or who, you know, there are all kinds of, it's mostly with women, but some with men too. Wait, I lost your sound, I think.
It was thank you.
Okay. Okay, now I'm looking at myself, which is quite alarming. I'd rather look at one of you.
Neha, are you online? You just had a baby. What would you answer to men like that if you were canvassing? I think she's gone probably to the baby. Anyone else have any questions for Gloria?
I have a bit of a really overarching question. You know, I mean, I was just asking this question earlier before you came on, is when you think about it rationally, we are half the world and just as capable as the other half. How did we get ourselves into this mess?
Well,
how did we?
I don't think, I mean, you know, we're all responsible for whatever happens, but we didn't exactly get ourselves into this mess. I mean, because for much of human history, women decided when and whether to give birth, and women were the healthcare workers, or the majority of the healthcare workers. It's why they were called witches, you know, in Europe, because women would go into through the door and come pregnant and come out not pregnant, you know. The knowledge of how to take care of ourselves and our reproductive lives is ancient. But with patriarchy, which is all about, I mean, by definition, patriarchy is controlling women's bodies, or controlling birth, or controlling, you know, the line of succession. It's all about putting men in control, or men being in control. And that, and it depends on the part of the world. I mean, in some parts of the world, we still have matrilineal cultures. Certainly our Native American cultures remain matrilineal much longer. And, I think that's true in some parts of India and some parts of other countries. I can't answer as to why patriarchy took over. But I think it has to do with colonialism, with deciding which races increase and which races do not, and therefore controlling reproduction, forcing usually white women to have children they don't want, and keeping women of color from having too many children unless they were being used as cheap labor. It's been going on for a couple of hundred years. But what has been done can be undone. I mean, here's my general philosophy. Fuck them. We're going
I like that general philosophy.
we're going to do what we're going to do anyway.
Adopt it in as much as it has not yet been adopted. Yes. No.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I think that about all our pain about the Supreme Court and the loss of Ruth Ginsburg and this ridiculous woman who's now taking her place. I mean, if the court makes decisions that are against what the majority thinks is right, it won't be obeyed. That's been true for a long time. The court, you know, when the rule was separate but equal, which was not educationally fair, people just disobeyed. So there's some comfort. It's not without pain and suffering, but there's some comfort, I think, in just saying we're going to do what we're going to do, regardless.
That we do anyway, but the point is that how do we create an atmosphere where we can do it without fear of being
Oh, I guess we lost Ruchira. Yeah. You've spent a lot of time in India, Gloria, and you must have noticed that very often it is the women who perpetuate patriarchy, or, you know, are complicit with the men in doing so because they get their power through the men. And that's
I think that's true here as well to some degree.
Yes, it's true in most societies that have any degree of patriarchy. I mean, you know, it was true in Caesar's time and it's true now.
Well, it depends on the degree of dependence of that woman.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, we can see pretty clearly in this country that 51%, something like that, of white women voted for Trump. And they were mostly not college educated, not in the workforce. I mean, that means they're dependent for their livelihood on their husbands. 96% of Black women voted for Hillary Clinton, you know, because they were more autonomous in the workforce or working for themselves, and also had the double education of race and gender. But I think when we see which groups of women do what, it helps us to understand why.
Yeah. Gloria, we talked a little bit about your movie and everyone's excited to watch it. Any early indication on how it's doing?
You know, I don't know, because of course, when it was going to be in theaters and we were all very excited and we were going to get in a bus like in a movie and go, you know, campaign across country. Now, since it was on Amazon, it's probably been seen by way more people than would have seen it in theaters. So that's the good news, but it's less personal, you know, so it's hard to know. I mean, I was kind of suggesting, and we were all suggesting, that people who watched might want to have Zooms of their own afterwards and have talking circles, but I don't have any way of knowing how much that happened.
It's an amazing movie, so everybody here should watch it for sure.
No, Julie Taymor is, you know, incredible.
Well, she had a good subject, Gloria. You got to admit that.
No, but I mean, I had nothing to do with it. I mean, I did absolutely nothing but say yes. You know, it was all her. She invented the bus through time, which I thought was genius, right? And a Greyhound bus, so it's kind of populist, right?
Actually, Gloria, this is Ram, I'm the comic book creator. I wanted to share an image of a new character we're creating.
Oh, great.
And also someone you might know.
Oh my God.
Bravo.
Oh, that's amazing.
Very good.
It's a new series we're creating called Super Sheroes, focused on women around the world who have particular superpowers. and the patriarch, or the person who's running this group of women, is Supreme RBG. And I think in a future edition we will definitely be making a character out of you, with your permission, of course.
Well, I'd love to see who you have besides Ruth as superhero. She looks wonderful.
Yes.
They have Ruchira.
Yes.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Well, Ruchira's this. So the other characters are, of course, on the right. There's Priya, who's definitely Ruchira's an inspiration, and then we have a remarkable superhero from Bogota, Natalia Ponce de Leon. She's an acid attack survivor. This is a real person. And we took her story and made her into a character who lives in the Amazon. And is so there's all these characters from all over, one from China, one from Sudan and Norway. So this will be a new comic book series we'll hopefully launch next year. Of women's superheroes who have superpowers and are always thinking about social justice.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Oh, because all I had in my childhood was Wonder Woman. That was it.
Of course, the famous cover.
I mean, there was also Sheena of the Jungle,
Right.
but she was a little harder to identify with.
Yes.
I'd love to know if you have, little paragraphs or stories of their individual stories. I would love to know them.
Definitely, I'll send it through to Richard, to you.
Great.
Thank you.
So how do you pick your sheroes, Ram?
Well, I always work directly with women writers and try to find real women who have gone through some extraordinary things in their lives and can tell extraordinary stories, because all the characters are based on real characters, real people. Me being a documentary filmmaker, I spend a lot of time interviewing and spending time with survivors and all capacities. So they get incorporated into the characters, and the illustrators really come and bring them to life. It's quite, it's a beautiful process.
What was the name of the wonderful, smart, great, terrific woman who's, still young, in her 30s, I think, who was, the advocate and champion of the Serbs against the cruel practices of Turkey? I'm trying to think. I'll think of her name and send it to you, because she would be great. I mean, she was captured and enslaved for a while and got out, and she became an international spokeswoman. She was at the United Nations. It's amazing. I'll see if I can find her name.
Yeah, actually, I her name eludes me, but she's actually, I heard her on NPR maybe about 6 months ago, and, talking with Terry Gross. A very powerful story, and I was planning to reach out to her because a future edition of our Priya comic will focus on especially on basically sex slavery and issues surrounding how, especially in the tribal regions, how men control women in terms of infanticide and all these other things.
Yeah, she's in because her own culture, her own ancient culture, is matrilineal and democratic, but therefore very much the kind of portrayed as evil by the more current monotheistic, right?
That's interesting.
Gloria? Because you frame things so well, David Attenborough's talking so much about the end of nature as he got to experience it, unless we do something really quickly, and a lot of it will already be lost. Can you say something about woman, the feminine as nature, and sort of synthesize the environment and our importance within the environment to maintain and keep this planet aloft?
You know, I'm not very good at that.
You are.
No. I mean, I think of it myself as the earth is a living being, you know, and there is a Native American legend or history or prediction, I don't know, that says if human beings become too destructive of the earth as a living being will shrug us off and start over. That, I mean, I have no idea, but that's kind of electrifying to me because it puts the balance of power in the proper way, because the earth is more powerful than people. And even though we are despoiling it, you know, it I would think has the last word, and or the next word, if not the last word. But that's not exactly helpful to your question. You know, I hope that we're learning from COVID, because I think one thing that is clear is that the COVID does not respect national boundaries, does not observe race or gender or class. And so, more perhaps in a deep way, we are learning that. You know, I mean, in a way, COVID has unified the earth in a consciousness sense, but it's up to us to use that in a positive way.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you for staying with us and chatting with us. It's a nice treat at the end of a lovely program. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We shared
Love you.
lots of love to everyone, and see you in person soon.
You soon.
Great, Mona. So great to see you.
Thank you.
Good night.